It's a trading deal that went. Ted Gunderson, the former head of the FBI for Southern California, he's a friend of mine. They can talk all day they want to because these guys up at the top think that they have it under control and that they've won the game. So they've already won. People like me, they aren't going to make any difference. What do you think they're, it was 9 years ago they asked me to build an enemy prisoner of war camp in downtown Las Vegas. And I'm sitting down here, who's the enemy? Well, the enemy is people that are going to be talking against the government. So what do you have right now that's going on in Congress? Aren't they trying to put to the legislate bills that people that are talking anti-government are going to be considered terrorists? Do you understand what we're doing?
Yeah.
When you're on a radio program and you're bringing up comments about, who the 13 families that control the world, that's no big deal. So you can know, my man, I sit there and talk to them. That's not a big problem. The problem is they have control because everybody has to get what they're providing to you as a means of exchange, which is the money. Now, whether it's in the form of a credit card, MasterCard and Visa, for instance, have nothing to do with money. They're just a credit servicing company that gives you a little card. The money is issued by the banks, right?
Mm-hmm.
In other words, they'll tell you which bank is issuing it, whether it's Chase or
right.
Bank or whatever. And they make so much money just on selling the crazy cards that all the companies want to put their name on it because they get a little percentage of it. Like, you get a United Airlines credit card, they're going to give you mileage, or they're going to give you, everybody, even Lowe's, or all these different places have these credit card things that they set up so they can get a small fraction of it. Now, the people, of course, in New York City who run the stock brokerages firm are all they're interested in is cash flow. So the insurance companies and the rest of them, which are also part of the same scenario, are looking for income to keep going. So they bundle. In other words, I'll take you. You got a MasterCard probably or a Visa card.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, if you got 100 of you together, we can also predict how much cash is going to come in each month, how you make your payments. What they've done is bundle that cash flow and sold it to a pension fund or something at a big discount fund, and that's called a derivative. There's 100 trillion in derivatives out there right now. 100 trillion. There's no such animal. These are all quasi-investments. There's nothing in there behind it. The same thing with houses. You take 100 houses that were mortgaged to a bank. The bank doesn't hold them. They could. But most of them have sold off the cash flow off of those to another entity so they can get more money to loan out to more people. And so the Ponzi game, all of a sudden, instead of having under the rules like 10 times loaning on the value, maybe they can loan out 80 times. And that's what's happened across the country. And I'll give you an idea. When I used to sell money to a bank, and we'll make it round figures for you, if I agreed to put $10 million into a bank, they would pay me 3%, just to give you an idea. The advertising they had, I'd had it funneled around to me. For me to do business, however, you're my friend, Joe.
Mm-hmm.
You got $10,000 sitting in your bank. I would tell you, I'm going to pay you money to put your money into a bank. So what I would do is write out a check to you for 2% on that $10,000 in advance. And I just told you what bank to go put it in. Now remember, it was guaranteed supposedly by FDIC, Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. Now that's another private entity. Just so they have all these names like Federal Reserve,
right.
Like Federal Express. They're the same. They don't mean anything. They're not government agencies. You understand?
Right.
But the politicians have got to put it together. So you think everything's controlled, but they have control because what they do is they have the ability to tax money on people's withholding tax. And corporations are the basic entities that they use as the collection agency for the employees. And right now, small companies have to return in the withholding every 2 weeks, or maybe more, it depends on what they are, the money goes back into the Federal Reserve, which is this private banking system. And as Aaron Russo, and he's got the people admitting, 100% of that money is just that you pay in withholding tax just goes to the interest to pay to the Federal Reserve, which basically has put the whole country in debt to them, the bankers.
Right.
Now, the video from Freedom to Fascism, which we offer on our website, you can get it and see and listen to it yourself, or go up on the internet and download it because it's there.
Right. Okay, so one other question. currently here that I have is, maybe you can explain in a little more detail, like if they're going to do a population decrease, if there's all these people out there working, like little worker bees and making the money and all that kind of stuff, do they have enough money that's why they want to get rid of the population? Or, because to me, in general business sense, if you have more people working for you, they're making more money off the amount of their number of people. So if they decrease that number, would they make less?
Well, now you're looking at it back as totally as money is the ultimate thing. It's not that. Again, Kissinger said the absolute aphrodisiac is power.
Right.
That's it. So we'll put power into position. Forget the money. You're all just worker bees if you want to look at it on the street. We don't care. But to keep everybody happy, we give you some pittance. Now, I have a copy of the World Cash Card that when Obama et al., they call a national emergency for any reason at this point, that will basically suspend whatever constitutional rights you have left, which I think are basically none. Then what happens, you're going to have to go to the post office and register. As you notice, when you go to the post office right now, the post office will not give you any kind of a post office box or anything else without having a physical address with all these things. And the postal employees are being trained to go in and search houses for whatever contraband that they've got on their little lists, for instance. Anyway, this new cash card will be given to people that have been following the rules, i.e. paying the taxes, doing their things, and, playing like a good guy for them. Those people that are independent, and believe it or not, the United States, we have 325 million people, 50 million people don't even pay taxes. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, it's because it's totally. Phil Hart, who's a state representative, wrote a book. It's a constitutional income. You can go to get it on Amazon if you want to. Mm-hmm. Anyway, he goes into details and research the same way. There's several people out there, the law that never was, because the law itself was never constitutional, and they cannot give you, if you wanted to challenge the Internal Revenue Service, actually, the law, because there is none. So it's been an assumed liability. It says voluntary tax, right? So when you voluntarily pay your taxes and you sign the form, you've committed yourself to their system. It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah,
everybody.
Absolutely.
Okay, so now you're coming back. Do they care about less population? Yeah, they do, because they want to reduce the population by all means necessary. Now, meetings that I sat in, we were talking about using neutron bombs on the major cities. Neutron bombs will leave all the buildings intact, just get rid of the people. Right now, that's by radiation, obviously. Right now, they're doing it indirectly. So all foods that are coming in and all herbs that come into the United States are all radiated. Did you know that?
No, I was unaware of that.
Yeah, they have a meeting, actually. I attended that about 3 years ago when they were trying to clarify that. So the word radiation, if you knew you had radiated foods, would you eat it?
No.
Well, so they changed it. So they determined now you can use cold pasteurization. That's what they call it.
Oh, my God.
See, just to give you an idea. So your foods can be pasteurized, which basically radiated, and all meat that is frozen, that's transported between states, is radiated by their thing. Now, radiation, as you know, is a little slow moving for killing things, generally, the type that they use. So what you're doing is, if you do have bugs, that's a theory, all you do is have radiated bugs that you're eating. Meanwhile, the food goes into the food chain, and your body starts reacting on it. And all of a sudden, you've got all these, quote, cancers and other diseases that didn't exist before.
Right.
That's what your problem is. Anyway, when we come back to the money game, well, what is the solution for your own self? My suggestion is, and they've also made this a rule. Did you know the pre-65 coins that we had, the quarters and halves and dimes and that, were 90% silver? Mm-hmm. So they, even though they're coins and you can use them, they call them numismatics. I suggest you get the pre-65 coins, the silver coins, mm-hmm. because historically, when the pirates went out to different countries, what did they go pick up? The gold and silver.
Right.
So what you want to do is move your money into gold and silver. There's not enough above ground gold to make it available.
Welcome to Universal Talk. On today's show, we ponder the financial outlook for 2010 and who are the true key players in global economics. Let's present the case. First, we must consider economics as a whole and ask some serious questions like, why are we not all allotted free energy, food, clothing, and other necessities as a birth-given right to this planet? Why do we actually pay taxes? Why are there such things as taxes and interest? What if humanity was actually run by only a few elite families? What if that is why we can never seem to get ahead and continue to fall into the same pitfalls over and over? What if we were all like little worker bees, just seemingly trying to work and get ahead, but with each hour worked results in money generated but directed to the powers to be, and allow the rich to get richer and the poor to stay right where they are? In a moment, we will have George Green on the show. George is a former investment banker, registered financial principal with the NASD, and a broker-dealer. He is a securities underwriter, real estate developer, insurance broker, and publisher of Handbook for the New Paradigm, written by the ETs. Hello, George Green. Welcome to the show.
Good morning.
How are you?
Great.
Well, can you tell the listeners a little more about yourself?
Well, you pretty much gave a summary of all that, except for the game of Monopoly, which I got involved into when I was pretty young, which basically involved finding out what money really was, and also the players that play with it. And I got to a position of a lot of power because I had a lot of money. I ran around with the guys that are planning on taking over the world. Well, that resulted in me started analyzing everything that you were just talking about. In other words, what is money? Believe it or not, they don't have a definition of it. They just, if your listeners would just contact the United Nations and ask them for a book called Systems of National Accounting. That's the accounting book for the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank. And in it itself, they tell you that they don't have a definition of money.
Wow.
So it was one of the strange things I looked at.
Right.
That's only because they were coming after me for selling money. Well, if I was going to sell something, then I have to have identification of it. So I finally got the state of Colorado, where I was at, to issue me a license to sell money. And the precariously position of that, I would sell money to banks. You know how right now the banks tell you, come over and put your money in here, put your $10,000 in here. We're going to pay